Have you ever stopped to count how many times a day you worry about what others think of you? How many decisions do you fail to make because you're afraid of their reaction? How many times do you change your behavior, your clothes, your words, just to get a nod of approval from someone who might not even care that much about you? Imagine a man in chains, sold as a commodity, treated as an object. He couldn't choose where he lived, what he ate, or even when he spoke. But within his mind, he discovered something his owners could never control: his inner freedom. This man was Epictetus, and he developed the most powerful antidote against our desperate thirst for approval, an antidote that can transform your life today, 2,000 years later. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why Epictetus became one of the most respected philosophers in history. You'll discover the practical mental tools he created to free yourself from the prison of other people's opinions. And more importantly, you'll know exactly how to apply these tools in your own life, whether at work, in relationships, on social media, or in any situation where you find yourself begging for approval. If you feel it's time to stop being a hostage to the opinions of others and want to discover the strength this great thinker can offer you, know that this channel is your refuge. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because the journey we're starting today is just the first step: the paradox of the free slave. Let's start with a mind-blowing contradiction. The freest man in ancient Rome was a slave. Epictetus was born a slave and spent the first half of his life as someone else's property. He couldn't choose anything about his external life. But it was precisely this experience that led him to the most revolutionary discovery about human freedom. While you're worrying if your Instagram photo got enough likes, Epictetus was discovering that true freedom has nothing to do with external circumstances. He realized there are two categories of things in the world: those that depend on us and those that don't depend on us. And guess which category other people's opinions of you fall into? Practical example. You're giving a presentation at work. Your performance, that depends on you. The boss's reaction, that doesn't depend on you. What you prepared, how you expressed yourself, the effort you put in, all of that is your territory. But whether the boss will approve, promote you, or like you, that's not in your hands. And Epictetus would say, why are you spending mental energy on something you can't control? The dictatorship of external impressions. Epictetus had an ingenious theory about why we suffer so much. We confuse things with our impressions of things. He said that it's not events that disturb us, but our opinions about events. To put it in plain English, when someone doesn't reply to your WhatsApp message, what bothers you isn't the fact itself. What bothers you is the story you create in your head. This person is ignoring me. I did something wrong. They don't like me anymore. Epictetus called these impressions, and he discovered that we have the power to examine these impressions before accepting them as truth. It's like a mental filter. Every impression that reaches you needs to pass an analysis before you let it disrupt your inner peace. Practical example. You post something on social media and don't get much interaction. The automatic impression: no one cares what I think, I'm irrelevant. But if you apply Epictetus's filter, the question would be, is this impression true? Does it help me? Is it based on facts or on interpretations? You would probably discover that it's just an interpretation, and an interpretation that doesn't serve you. The theater of life and its roles. One of Epictetus's most powerful metaphors is life as a play. He said that each of us has been given a role to play in this drama called life. You didn't choose the role. That was determined by fate, by circumstances, by luck. But you have total control over how you will perform that role. Do you know what the problem is with those who desperately seek approval? These people are trying to please the audience instead of focusing on the quality of their performance. They're trying to change roles in the middle of the play because they think another character would be more applauded. Epictetus would say, your job is not to be applauded. Your job is to perform your role with excellence, regardless of the audience's reaction. If you are a parent, be the best parent you can be. If you are an employee, be the best possible employee. If you are a friend, be a genuine friend. Practical example. You're in a group of friends and someone tells an offensive joke. Everyone laughs. Your role in this situation is not the guy who pleases everyone. Your role is a person of integrity. If you don't find it funny, you don't need to pretend you do just to fit in. Epictetus would say that forcing fake laughs is betraying the excellence of your performance as a human being, the impenetrable fortress of the mind. Epictetus had a phrase that should be tattooed on the mind of every insecure person. No man is free if he is not master of himself. And he knew what he was talking about. He spent years being the physical property of another human being. But he discovered there is a space within your mind that no one can invade without your permission. This space is your capacity to choose your responses. Between what happens to you and how you react, there is a small space, and in that space lives your freedom. The person who desperately seeks approval has given this space away to others. They have let others' opinions install a software in their mind that runs automatically. If they don't approve, I'm worthless. Epictetus teaches that you can uninstall this software. How? By practicing what he called the discipline of desire. In simple words, stop desiring that people approve of you and start desiring only to do what is right. Practical example. You're in a meeting and you have an innovative idea, but you're afraid to speak up because it might be rejected. The person who is a slave to approval thinks, what if they think it's stupid? The person trained by Epictetus thinks, my job is to contribute the best I have. If they reject the idea, that says something about the idea or about them, not about my value as a person. The difference is subtle but revolutionary. In the first case, your self-esteem is in the hands of others. In the second, it is in your own hands, the art of becoming indifferent to the indifferent. Here we arrive at Epictetus's most radical concept. He said we must become indifferent to things we don't control. And pay attention, indifferent doesn't mean not caring about anything. It means not letting those things determine your inner state. He made a crucial distinction. There are good things, bad things, and indifferent things. Good things are virtues like courage, justice, wisdom. Bad things are vices like cowardice, injustice, ignorance. Everything else, including others' opinions of you, are indifferent things. But how is it indifferent? Of course it matters if people like me, you might be thinking. Epictetus would reply, it matters for what exactly? For your value as a human being? For your capacity to be virtuous? For your inner peace? The wisdom is in realizing that you can prefer that people like you. That's natural. But you cannot depend on it to feel good about yourself. It's the difference between preference and dependence. Practical example. You send a resume for a dream job. Applying Epictetus, you would give your best in the preparation, do the best possible interview, demonstrate your skills with honesty. But the result, whether they will hire you or not, would be treated as indifferent. You did your part with excellence. The rest is not in your hands, so it can't be the criterion for measuring your success. Epictetus's Socratic Method for destroying limiting beliefs. Epictetus was not just a philosopher, he was a teacher, and he developed a devastating technique to destroy the beliefs that make us suffer. He borrowed Socratic Method, asking questions, and adapted it to combat our insecurities. The technique works like this. Whenever you find yourself desperately seeking approval, ask yourself these questions. Is this person whose approval I seek perfect? Spoiler, no, they're not. Does this person know all my contexts, my intentions, my history? Spoiler, no, they don't. Does this person's opinion of me change who I really am? Spoiler, no, it doesn't. If I get their approval today, will it solve my insecurity forever? Spoiler, no, it won't. Practical example. You're anxious because you're going to meet people from college after years and you want to make a good impression. Applying the method, are these people perfect? Of course not. Everyone has their own issues. Do they know everything you've been through, grown, and learned over these years? Impossible. If they aren't impressed, do you become a worse person? Obviously not. If they are impressed, will you stop worrying about approval forever? We know you won't. Epictetus would say, so why are you spending mental energy on something so fragile and temporary? The discipline of virtuous action. Epictetus divided practical philosophy into 3 disciplines: the discipline of desire, which we've already seen, the discipline of action, and the discipline of assent. The discipline of action is especially powerful for those seeking approval because it teaches you to act based on principles, not on emotional reactions. The insecure person acts reactively. I'll do this because I hope they'll like me. The person trained by Epictetus acts proactively. I'll do this because it's the right thing to do, regardless of the reaction. Epictetus taught that every action should pass through a filter. Is this aligned with my values? Does it contribute to the common good? Does it make me a better person? If the answer is yes, you act. If it's no, you don't act. It's that simple. The revolutionary thing about this is that you stop being a puppet in the hands of others' expectations and become the director of your own life. Practical example. You're in a relationship and the person is pressuring you to do something that goes against your values. The insecure mind thinks, if I don't do it, they might leave me. The mind trained by Epictetus thinks, are my values negotiable? What kind of relationship is this that requires me to betray who I am? The virtuous action might be an honest conversation, setting boundaries, or even ending the relationship if necessary. The death of the false ego. Epictetus had a radical view on identity. He said that most people live identified with things that are not them. Their profession, their appearance, their possessions, their achievements, and especially the opinion others have of them. But who are you really? Epictetus would answer, you are your capacity to make rational and virtuous choices. Everything else is an accessory. Your body will age, your job might end, your possessions can disappear, but your essence, your capacity to choose what is good, no one can take that from you. This is the death of the false ego. Stopping identifying with external and unstable things and starting to identify with what you control completely, your choices, your values, your attitudes. When you understand this deeply, the search for approval loses its meaning. Why? Because you realize you're asking others to validate things that aren't even truly you. It's like asking someone to approve of your borrowed clothes. Practical example, you didn't get the promotion you wanted. The false ego collapses. I'm a failure. I'm worthless. What will others think? But the real you, the one Epictetus wants you to discover, asks, how can I grow from this experience? What lessons can I learn? How can I better prepare for the next opportunity? The difference is that in the first case, you are identified with the result, which you don't control. And in the second, you are identified with your ability to learn and grow, which you control completely. The daily practice of inner freedom. Epictetus wasn't an ivory tower philosopher. He created practical exercises that you can do every day to strengthen your emotional independence. The most powerful one he called negative visualization, but it's not what you're thinking. The idea is simple. Every morning, dedicate a few minutes to imagining situations where you might seek approval during the day. Visualize yourself reacting with serenity and independence. For example, today I'm going to present a project. I can imagine that some colleagues won't like the idea. I can visualize my response, to listen to constructive criticism, maintain my composure, not take it personally, and focus on what I can learn. This exercise programs your mind to react virtuously instead of reactively. It's like a mental workout for real-life situations. Epictetus also taught the exercise of reservation. Whenever you do something, mentally add, if it is the will of fate or if circumstances allow. Not out of resignation, but to remember that you control the effort, not the outcome. Complete practical example. Morning. Today I have an important presentation. I'll prepare in the best way possible. I'll be honest and clear. I'll demonstrate competence. If it's well received, great. If not, I'll seek feedback to improve. My value as a person does not depend on the audience's reaction. During the day, when you feel anxiety for approval, pause and ask, is this in my control? Am I doing my part with excellence? Then it's already enough. Evening. What did I learn today about my relationship with the opinions of others? At what moments did I unnecessarily seek approval? How can I be more autonomous tomorrow? The radical transformation. From beggar to inner emperor. Here we reach the total turning point. Epictetus teaches that there is an abyssal difference between two ways of living, as an emotional beggar or as an inner emperor. The emotional beggar stands at the door of others' minds, waiting for crumbs of approval. Please, tell me I'm good enough. Please, validate me. Please, accept me. It's a position of constant scarcity. There is never enough approval to satisfy this hunger. The inner emperor owns his own kingdom, his values, his principles, his peace of mind. He doesn't need to beg because he already has everything he needs within himself. He can appreciate approval when it comes. It's natural. But he doesn't depend on it to feel complete. The transformation happens when you realize you've spent your whole life looking outside for what was already inside you. The capacity to approve of yourself, to recognize your own value, to feel complete. Epictetus lived this literally. He went from a physical slave to a spiritual master. His own owners ended up seeking his advice. Why? Because he had found something that neither slavery nor external freedom could touch: his inner sovereignty. Practical example of transformation. Before, I'll only post this photo if it looks perfect, if I'm handsome, if it guarantees enough likes, and I'll compulsively check the reactions. After, I'm going to share this because it has meaning for me. It represents something I value. If people like it, that's great. If they don't, it doesn't change anything about the value it has for me. Before, I can't disagree with the boss. He might not like me. After, I will express my opinion in a respectful and well-founded way. It is my professional duty to contribute the best I have. His reaction is his responsibility. The final test: living without masks. The ultimate test of Epictetus's teachings is being able to live without masks. The insecure person wears dozens of different masks, one for parents, another for friends, another for work, another for social media. They live exhausted trying to manage all these false personas. Epictetus proposed something revolutionary: be yourself in all contexts. This doesn't mean being inconvenient or disrespectful. It means that your fundamental values, your integrity, your authenticity remain constant regardless of the environment. When you stop wearing masks, a magical thing happens. You attract people who like who you truly are, and you push away people who only liked your performance. In the end, you are left with truer and deeper relationships. But there's a but. Some people will disapprove of your authenticity. They will miss the version of you that tried to please everyone. Epictetus would say, that is proof that you are on the right path. If everyone approves of your transformation, it's because you haven't changed anything real. The freedom of being rejected for being authentic is greater than the prison of being accepted for being fake. Final practical example. You're in an environment where everyone complains about work, speaks ill of others, and plays the victim. Before, you would participate to fit in. Now, applying Epictetus, you simply don't participate. You neither judge nor criticize others, but you also don't betray your values to gain momentary approval. The result? Some people might find your change strange. Others will secretly admire your courage to be different. And you? You will sleep in peace, knowing you were true to yourself. Conclusion. Look at the path we have walked together. We started with a chained slave in Rome and ended by discovering the key to the most radical freedom there is, the freedom of not needing anyone's approval to feel complete. Epictetus showed us that insecurity is not about what others think of you. It's about what you think you need from others to feel valuable. And he proved, on his own skin, literally in chains, that you already have everything you need within yourself. We live in an era where the search for approval has become an epidemic. Instagram, LinkedIn, relationships, work, everything has become a desperate competition for external validation. But Epictetus, 2,000 years ago, had already found the cure. The true revolution is not getting more approval. It's discovering that you don't need it to be happy, to have peace, to feel sufficient. It's realizing that your self-esteem is your responsibility, not others. Imagine what your life would be like if you stopped begging for approval. What decisions would you make? What relationships would you maintain? What dreams would you pursue? What version of you would emerge if you weren't constantly hiding behind masks? Epictetus invites you to a more courageous, more authentic, more free life. A life where you are the emperor of your own inner territory, where your peace does not depend on the opinion of people who might not even remember you tomorrow. Philosophy is not a set of dead words in old books. It is a weapon for life. What we have seen today is just one of the many tools we can use to sculpt an existence with more purpose and serenity. If this message resonated with you and you want to continue on this journey of self-discovery and strengthening, do your part. Subscribe to the channel and join our community of thinkers. The next video might hold the key to your next great challenge.